It always starts the same way. She looks at you. Not as you are, but as who she imagines you might become. You feel it in her eyes, don't you? That flicker of hope. Or maybe it's hunger. You think you're being seen, but you're not. You're being measured. Assessed. Scanned like a blank canvas, waiting for her to paint her masterpiece. But the masterpiece was never you. It never was. And Carl Jung, he tried to warn you. Not with motivational fluff, but with the brutal honesty of a man who spent a lifetime gazing into the abyss of the human soul. Jung devoted his life to mapping the unconscious, the silent realm beneath awareness that guides so much of what we do. And what he discovered about women, and about men, was terrifying. Women don't just fall in love with men. They fall in love with the idea of men. With the fantasy. The projection. And the cruelest part? Most of them don't even know they're doing it. You think she's choosing you, but she's choosing the version of you she crafted in her imagination, a psychological puppet meant to act out a role in her private drama. And the moment you stop fitting her script, she doesn't change the story. She changes the actor. Jung called this projection the animus, the inner masculine image that lives inside every woman. And when that animus is immature, undeveloped, or unchecked, it becomes a tyrant. It fuels the cycle of attraction to danger, rejection of virtue, arguments without meaning, dominance without wisdom. Jung didn't sugarcoat it. He called it a spiritual possession. A woman under the grip of her animus loses touch with herself, acting not from her conscious self but from the shadow of a masculine illusion. And men, why do you fall for it? Because no one ever taught you to spot it. You confuse being desired with being known. You mistake being chosen for being understood. You believe her when she says, "You're different," when in truth you're just the latest name in a long list of auditions for a part she's been casting since girlhood. And when the fantasy dies, when the mask falls, you're left in ruins, confused, betrayed, humiliated. Wondering what you did wrong. But you didn't do anything wrong. You just stopped acting. Jung warned us, the only way out of this psychological theater is through individuation. The brutal, lifelong process of becoming whole. But most men never even start. We've been trained to seek approval, to find worth through her eyes, to bend and contort ourselves just to feel loved. But you don't become a man by being chosen. You become a man by choosing yourself. You don't earn your value through her affection. You build it, standing alone, awake, responsible, alive. The man who has met his unconscious cannot be seduced by fantasy. He writes his own story. Jung saw the great tragedy of modern men. They're not rejected, they're willing to be anything, anyone, just to be accepted. And we call it compromise. We call it partnership. We even call it love. But Jung had a harsher term, self-betrayal. We become wet clay, molded by the whims of women who haven't even dared to know their own desires. We become masks. Smiles. Nods. Agreements. Until we forget who we were before we started performing. And women? They feel it. Deeply. The same predictability, obedience, and softness you think will make her love you, it's the same reason she stops feeling you. Because the feminine doesn't crave comfort. It craves depth. Mystery. The man she cannot fully define. The paradox is crushing. You fear loneliness more than you fear losing your soul. So you trade your truth for connection. And that connection becomes a prison. Jung's path to freedom. Solitude. Terrifying, raw solitude. The death of every mask. The confrontation of every broken, buried piece of yourself. It's the kind of silence that breaks you. That empties you. That unmasks the voice that says you need her. That you are incomplete without her. But Jung's work whispered something dangerous, that the man who can stand alone, unneeded, unapplauded, unseen, is the only man who is truly free. Free from projection. Free from illusion. Free from performance. And strangely enough, it's from that grounded place that women feel most drawn to you. Not because you need them, but because you don't. And she feels that. She senses it. She sees the mirror you've become. But don't mistake her interest for rescue. She cannot walk this path for you. She must face her own animus. Her own illusions. Her own demons. Your job is to walk. So bravely. So fully. That you become a mirror, one that reflects the truth so clearly, people either awaken, or run. And many will run. But the few who stay will see something they never dared face before. The moment you stop performing, everything changes. You become a disturbance. A disruption. A challenge to those still living asleep. And you'll be misunderstood. Feared. Labeled as cold, distant, arrogant. But you are not those things. You are simply free. And those still trapped in fantasy, especially women chasing the image of the perfect man, they will accuse you of being unavailable, too serious, too much in your head. But what they really mean is, you no longer read from our script. Jung once joked that the gods have become diseases. What was once called divine possession is now called neurosis. And make no mistake, the most spiritually ill are the men who chase validation. Who call it love when they abandon themselves. Who make women the carriers of their soul. But no woman can carry that weight. She'll drop it. She must. And when she does, you'll feel betrayed. But you should thank her. Because in that collapse, you're face to face with the truth. The work of becoming a man was never hers to do. It was always yours. And in that moment, you have a choice. Blame her. Mock her. Resent her. Or, become the man Jung believed you could be. Turn inward. Begin the terrifying journey of wholeness. Because the woman you search for out there, she's the part of you you've abandoned. Until you face that inner feminine, every relationship will be performance. Transaction. Illusion. But once integrated, something miraculous happens. You stop chasing. You stop molding. You stand still. Rooted. Unshakable. And from that ground, you draw truth, not fantasy. You attract women who want a man, not a mask. A mirror, not a myth. A partner, not a savior. And you love not because you need her, but because you choose her, from strength. And when that rare woman arrives, not the fantasy, but the real, she won't need you to perform. She won't fall for the script. She will be whole. She will have faced her animus. She will have burned her illusions. And she will stand before you not as a goddess, but as a soul. No games. No projections. Just truth. And that truth, Jung taught, is the rarest kind of love. The love born not from need, but from freedom. But most will never experience this. Because most will never walk the fire. Most will settle for the applause. For the mask. For the myth. Because facing who you really are, still feels unbearable. But if you walk that path, if you dare to stand alone, if you strip away every illusion, you'll find something unspeakably beautiful. You'll find yourself. And once you do, women will no longer define you. They will no longer be mirrors of your worth. They will become something sacred. Equal. Whole. You will no longer seek to be chosen. You will choose. And from that choice, from that grounded soul, you will love, not for validation, not for meaning, but from a place that knows without apology who you are. Jung didn't leave us a map. He left us a warning, and a challenge. To stop blaming. To stop performing. To stop waiting. To become the man who no longer bends to fantasy. But instead, becomes the author of his own myth. And if you felt even a flicker of truth in these words, don't scroll past. Share this with a man still caught in the dream. Subscribe. Help us wake the world, one soul at a time. And when you finally stop performing, when you step off the stage of other people's expectations and retreat into the silence of your own being, the world will respond, but not with applause. With confusion. Discomfort. Maybe even rejection. Because you're no longer predictable. You're no longer compliant. You've become a mirror, and mirrors terrify people when they reflect something raw, unfiltered, and true. You'll start to notice how uncomfortable others become around you. The weight of your presence will feel like gravity, dense, unmoving. They'll label you distant, arrogant, too serious. But what they're really saying is, I can't control you anymore. Because once you individuate, once you integrate both your light and your shadow, you stop bending. You stop pretending. You stop playing the game. And some will resent you for it, especially those who are still trapped in the unconscious need to be mirrored and completed by someone else. Women, particularly those still possessed by the fantasy of the ideal man, may accuse you of being emotionally unavailable. But it's not that you're unavailable, it's that you're unshakable. You've stepped out of the archetype they needed you to fulfill. You've stopped reading from the script they wrote in silence long before you met. Jung once said, "The gods have become diseases." The divine myths of the past have not disappeared, they've gone inward, into the psyche, and when left unexamined, they become neuroses. Men who chase validation are spiritually sick. You think you're being romantic when you say, "She's my everything." But Jung would look you dead in the eyes and ask, "Why have you given her your soul?" You see, projection is seductive. It offers relief from the burden of self. It's easier to make her the carrier of your meaning, your hope, your wholeness, than to claim it yourself. But when she realizes she can't carry what was never hers, she will drop it. She must drop it. And when she does, your illusion will collapse, and you'll call it betrayal. But it's not betrayal. It's truth. It's reality cutting through fantasy. And in that collapse lies your liberation. Because in that moment, for perhaps the first time, you are invited to stand on your own. Not as a mask. Not as an idea. But as a man. And now comes the choice, will you blame her? Will you shrink back into bitterness, join the echo chambers of the wounded, mocking and resenting the feminine? Or will you turn inward? Will you finally do the work? Will you stand in the fire that Jung spoke of, the fire that burns away the false and leaves behind only what is real? Because this is the true test of a man. Not how well you perform, not how loved you are, not how many women admire you. The real test is how deeply you've met yourself. How fiercely you've faced your own emptiness. How honestly you've chosen to live without needing to be chosen. And here's the paradox. When you reach this place, this state of inner wholeness, rootedness, authenticity, love stops being a need. It becomes a gift. It becomes a choice. And when the rare woman who has also walked this path meets you, it won't be a collision of projections. It will be a meeting of souls. No masks. No fantasies. Just two whole beings, walking beside each other, not out of desperation, but out of mutual recognition. She won't need you to be her savior. She won't worship you or idealize you. She will see you. And you will see her, not as an idea, not as a role, but as a person. Real. Raw. Flawed. And yet, undeniable. That kind of love, Jung said, is the most dangerous and rarest of all. It threatens the illusions we build our lives on. It shatters the stories we use to avoid ourselves. It strips away everything that is false until only the soul remains. But most will never get there. They will stop at comfort. At familiarity. At performance. They will keep choosing the illusion because the truth still feels unbearable. But if you have the courage, the gut-wrenching, heartbreaking courage, to keep walking, to keep standing alone, to keep meeting yourself in the quiet, you will find something far greater than love. You will find yourself. And that self is not desperate. It is not waiting. It is not performing. It is not incomplete. It is whole. And from that place, only from that place, can true love ever begin. But here's the final truth, the one most terrifying to confront: no one is coming to save you. Not your ideal woman. Not your next relationship. Not the perfect romance you've built in your mind. No one is coming. Because no one can do the work for you. No one can face your unconscious. No one can integrate your shadow. No one can confront the parts of you you've spent years avoiding, your rage, your neediness, your shame, your fear. Those are yours. And they will remain yours, no matter how many times you change partners, cities, careers, or masks. Jung knew this. He warned that the man who avoids his own soul becomes a ghost, forever wandering, forever performing, forever wondering why he feels so empty, even when everything looks perfect on the outside. But if you have the courage to stay in the fire, to sit with the silence, to face your inner chaos without distraction, to meet the abandoned boy inside you, the one still begging to be loved, you begin to transform. Not into some alpha caricature. Not into the perfect boyfriend. But into a man. A real man. A man who carries his own soul. And when you do, something changes. The world doesn't get easier, but you become stronger. Clearer. More grounded. You begin to move differently. Speak differently. Love differently. You stop asking women to mother you. You stop asking love to rescue you. You stop outsourcing your worth to the feminine. And you begin to choose from a place of depth, not hunger. You see, the man who chooses himself doesn't reject love. He welcomes it, but not as a cure. As a mirror. As a companion on a journey he's already committed to walk alone. And the woman who's done her own work will recognize you. She won't try to fix you, shape you, possess you. She will meet you as an equal, not a savior. Because she, too, has walked through her own fire. She, too, has faced her inner masculine. She, too, has stopped confusing love with possession. And in that meeting, something sacred becomes possible. Not the kind of love that consumes you, blinds you, or inflates you. But the kind that holds space for your full humanity. The kind that doesn't fear your darkness. The kind that respects your boundaries. The kind that honors your solitude. Because that kind of love is not born from need. It is born from freedom. And freedom, Jung believed, is the highest spiritual state a man can reach. Not power. Not pleasure. Not perfection. Freedom. So if you're still here, if you've made it to the end of this pathless monologue, know this. You are not broken. You are not unworthy. You are not invisible. You are simply being invited, right now, to stop running. To stop performing. To stop handing your soul over to fantasies that were never yours to carry. And to finally, fearfully, courageously, come home to yourself.